Hey, welcome everyone to day 2 of our Accelerate No Code Revolution. I'm excited to be here again today as your host. I'm Eric Hale, Head of Sales Enablement at CREATIO, and we're following up on a very packed day yesterday. We had a great day on how to fuel business growth. We were really focused on how we're going to fuel that growth into 2022 and beyond. We were joined by some great speakers, and I would like to, thank everybody for joining yesterday again. And and um, yeah, from there, sorry, I had a little background noise there. From there, we will be moving into day 2, and today we're really going to be focused on looking into the future of technology and diving deeper into how no-code technology will be able to, drive transformational efforts. So we've got a great agenda for today. And if we're looking at, our first session is our trendsetter session, and it's going to be a great discussion with industry analyst Brent Leary and our CSO of EMEA, Andrew Fenton. We'll be talking about a major product update here at CREATIO, which is very, very exciting. I think you really enjoy that. And we'll be wrapping up the day with our digital circle, where we'll be talking about how to eliminate hurdles for business growth with no code, utilizing a best practice approach to implementing no code. So great agenda. I'd like to thank everybody again for joining. And I'd also like to, again, thank our partner community for helping us to promote these events. We couldn't do this without you. Our partners are so important, to the growth of our evangelizing the no-code message out into the marketplace. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, and that brings us to our first session, and I'm seeing my esteemed colleagues joining here. Brent, Andrew, how are you?
Very well.
Good.
Thank you, Eric.
Glad to be here. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, happy to have you here, Brent. I feel privileged to see you joining us here at our Accelerate No Code Revolution. So I'm going to leave you in the hands of our capable CSO, Andrew Fenton. And I'm looking forward to hearing your discussion, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Eric. So Brent, as we've just heard, clearly you're a very, very busy man. So I'll jump into the first question if I can. Technology, right? Evolving at such a rapid pace, enabling faster change and progress. What would you say the main technology trends that we should be looking out for, Brent, through to 22 and beyond?
Well, I think probably the one trend that will only get trendier or maybe accelerate in its trendiness is the change of pace that technology comes to us. It feels like every day you could wake up and there's something brand new, technologically speaking, that will change our lives. And by the end of the day, something else has already changed that. So it just feels like the pace of technology and the pace of transformation is only going to accelerate as we move forward. So I think from our perspective, from users and from practitioners and from technologists, it's being able to work and understand and be able to create at the speed of adoption, because adoption, I think the reason why a lot of these technologies are getting faster and faster is because we like them. We like to use them. We like to feel like we're able to take these new technologies and improve our lives and experiences. So I think that's the biggest trend, is the one that's already going on, and it's just going to keep getting faster and faster as we go along.
Yeah, okay. So the pace will just intensify as we go. And I guess that reminds me of an expression, right? There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. How do you think organizations can embrace these new technologies as quickly as they're evolving then, to your point?
Well, the funny thing is, we don't have to look into the far away past to see examples of that. We can just look into the beginning of the pandemic, when we were everybody, businesses, personal, regular folks, we were forced pretty much overnight to have to change the way that we did kind of like basic stuff like shopping at the grocery store. We couldn't do that. So we had to adapt the way that we shopped, which is a lot of us, we had to shop online for groceries for the first time. The interesting thing was you could do that before the pandemic. There were tons of people that were already, shopping for groceries online, but the vast majority of us weren't, because we were just so used to doing it the way that we grew up doing it. But overnight, when it was kind of taken away from us, we adapted. We had to do what we had to do. So I think if we just look at the lessons that come out of this pandemic and maybe think, instead of having to wait until we're forced to do something, and eventually, you do it and it's like, hey, that's not that bad. And even when we're opening up, things are getting better. People that never shopped for groceries online before the pandemic are saying, you know what, I actually kind of like doing this. So they're going to continue to do it even after they're, fully opened up. So I think if we're able to take the lessons of not waiting to do things until we're forced to do it, and then we find out that they're great, if we're a little bit more bold or a little bit more open to what the possibilities of what this technology can do, and think a little bit more creatively, before the door gets shut, I think we can pull from these past experiences and be able to build and be much faster, much more, fluent with our moves and decision making and our abilities to put things in place.
Yeah, right, Brent. So the new normal, if you like, and take advantage before it's forced upon us. Yeah, no, I get that. And I guess from a technology point of view, there's lots of technology, and to your point, it's coming at us faster than ever. What would you see as fads versus technology that you think's here to stay?
Well, I don't know if I would call it a fad, or if I would just say it's probably something that's going to not be a standalone, but will be part of the normal communications, platforms or social platforms. We hear this term social audio, and there are like platforms out there that just do that and have gotten a lot of attention. But I don't think standalone social audio is something that will be with us for very long. I think the ability to share your voice and build and have a group of folks jump on at any minute of the time or any part of the day, I think that's important. But I don't think it's as important as a standalone vehicle. I think you're already seeing like Twitter integrate audio into their platform, and you're seeing all these bigger platforms doing that. Clubhouse is a standalone, and it got a lot of attention. But I think talking to people and being able to gather people around for a quick chat is something that's not going to be a standalone. It's just going to be a piece of the overall platform. We're already seeing that happen today.
It's going to become a part of the new normal, right? So it's no longer going to be something on its own. What about things like CRM? What about things like NoCode? How do you see these fitting in?
Well, CRM, I think people have been trying to bury CRM for ever at this point, but it's not going anywhere. And it's actually becoming, kind of a foundational piece on how we interact with customers, how we interact with partners to do deals, how do employees collaborate. And so CRM is probably more important now than it ever has been. And as part of the kind of the interaction in the customer journey ecosystem, it's at its core, because it allows people to gather the information they need, have the AI run on it, find insights that are important to create better experiences. And it's just getting more and more important as time goes on. And so when you think of no code, and I always go back to this conversation I had with Catherine, actually it was earlier this year, where I believe it was, don't quote me on the actual numbers, but I think it's about 500 million applications that are going to need to be built over the next several years. And there's just not enough developers to do the kind of applications and the number of applications that we all need in order to, run our businesses or to create, these great automated processes. So you need tools like no code to enable people who are not, born and bred coders, who don't, eat, sleep, and drink code, to be able to do things that they need done to improve the relationships and improve the services and application experiences that they're trying to create for customers. So no code expands the playing field. It lets people who aren't coders do the kind of things that coders in the past were the only ones that were able to do this stuff. So I think no code plays a huge part because it puts the power in the hands of people who are more business oriented, who know exactly what they need to do to improve services and experiences for customers. It allows them to actually do it instead of having to, put a request in. And, if there isn't enough, coders or programmers, in the organization, then they're going to have to go out and try to find some. It takes them forever to actually get what they need, in their hands and use it. And by the time that they actually get something, their needs may have changed. The expectation of customers may have changed. So you might have gotten exactly what you wanted, but you got it so late that it's no good anymore. And these kind of things are what we have to do a better job in making sure that when a customer demand or expectation, we sense it, we identify it, we're able to answer it as soon as possible. And, without no code, I don't think that's going to be possible.
Fantastic. So no code about empowering the business and really being able to do this at the pace upon which things are increasing, as we set out at the very start of this conversation, right? And from a CRM point of view, that unification of how to look at a customer and predict what's going to happen rather than be reactive to what's happened. I think that's kind of the main elements I pull out of that. And I guess, look, no code's platform is here, right? It's here right now. We see enterprises picking this up. What role do you see a no-code platform playing in the strategies?
Well, I think because you kind of are able to have the business person who is at the forefront of interacting with customers, trying to figure out the best ways to, generate leads, convert leads, close opportunities, service folks, keep them around longer, understand their customers, and be able to predict what their needs are going to be so that they can get it to them before they're asked for. There's a lot of stuff going on that you need to know in order to create not only a good relationship with a customer, but a long-lasting one, which grows over time, which goes where the customer needs to go. And in some instances, you might need to lead the customers because, we have the opportunity to look at the data and have AI run and look at all these interactions and have these next best steps, next best recommendations, actions, interactions. And so in certain instances, we're able to help them along the way and sometimes even guide them. You give them information as to which path may be the best one for you. All of that can't be done if you're not able to take all of that knowledge that's in the business development person's head and translate that into something that actually helps bring that to life. And so I think it's really important, is particularly I'll stick to the CRM and the customer experience stuff. Every bit of data, any bit of information should be used to try to figure out what's the best interaction, what's the best opportunity to create a service or experience that will help your customers stay with you, be successful, and stay with you over time. Because more time, more engagement should lead to more knowledge and more insight of what's important to them and what we need to do to help them. And that's where the focus should be. It shouldn't be on, bits and bytes. It should be on, all right, we've got what we need. How do we translate that into getting it to them? And I think a no-code platform allows more people to be involved in that process, but in the process above the code, where where all the thoughts and strategies and processes get determined, get flushed out, and then no code helps those get implemented. And that's really where it should be. I think I saw earlier in one of these CREATIO presentations where there's going to be 4 times as many business folks doing no code than there are going to be like hardcore developers in the actual professional code side. That no code is basically the enabler to make that happen. If that's not there, then that can't happen. And if that can't happen, all the things, all the 500 million applications that we need to keep going with these customers and providing them what they need, that'll never happen.
Fantastic. So this is about empowering the business. It's about using the predictive capabilities, turning those into suggestions on next best actions, helping somebody do their job, helping that organization move forwards, as opposed to being reactive. I think that's a really cool point. So look, we've talked a lot about the shift of pace, the new normal. What is it that companies have really had to do around their strategy, do you think, Brent, around this shift of pace and this new normal? What have they had to adjust in their strategies?
It's going to sound like, yeah, we already know this stuff, but sometimes knowing it and doing it, well, I was going to say sometimes, but most of the times knowing it and doing it are like completely different ballgames. And now let's talk about digital transformation. And before the pandemic, I would say that a lot of the companies that I dealt with and communicated with, and the people at those companies, when you talked about digital transformation, I think the vast majority of them were thinking, how do we take what we already do, and a lot of it is manual. How can we take what we already do and do it more efficiently and more effectively, but more efficiently? And so it's basically, I would call that a digital transition more than I would call it digital transformation, because using the technology to like make it more efficient to do what we already do, that's just transition. That's transition from manually doing these things to using some form of automation to do it, which is great. I think that's really important. And I think that was where a lot of the emphasis on digital transformation was pre-pandemic. But I think what happened because of the pandemic, and going back to the example of we had to start doing things differently because what we were already doing, we couldn't do. Because of that, I think it made a lot of companies rethink the definition of digital transformation, because it went from that transitional doing what we do more efficiently to actually, all right, what do we need to do? Because what we were doing, we can't do right now. So transformation finally became not just doing what we do more efficiently, it became, what can we do? How do we get past this hurdle that we didn't have before? And so digital transformation began to open up and begin to have people say, all right, let's look at all these different technologies and let's look at how we can do something, because right now we can't do it the way we're normally doing it. I love that, because I think it forced organizations to do things, to think differently, to approach problems differently, to look for solutions to things that that they did know about, challenges they did know about, but then also start to even think further away from that traditional thinking to say, well, man, why don't we do this? Why don't we try doing this? Because we never really had to do that, all the time. We just did it because at the time, 5-10 years ago, we had to do it like that. Now, I think more organizations are thinking way out of the box, Some of them have created completely different business models because they just never thought about it before. Now that they've been forced to think about business and interaction and relationships and working remote work now, we're doing this virtual event. We're talking to, people all around the world in a way that we probably didn't do even a couple of years ago. So I think the pandemic has forced digital transformation to open up and to do more things and be more things and take more approaches and be more experimental on how we interact and engage and how we work. And that's had a lot of unbelievable impact, because I'm seeing things that I know I wouldn't have seen a couple of years ago.
Fantastic. I guess this is about disruption and using technology to help disrupt or to adapt because of the disruption that's happening around you. Either way, it's a change to the strategy, right? We've had strategy plans in place. Those have all needed to be either ripped up entirely or shifted a significant amount. What would you say the important factors are when you're looking at building a strategic plan, given these shifting disruptive technologies that we've just been talking about?
I think one of the really basic things that companies are going to have to do going forward, because there's no turning back. It's like Pandora's box has been opened. And particularly when you're looking at the Generation Z and millennials that are stepping up and starting to get into, if not already into, these authoritative positions within organizations, is they're used to doing things differently than, I'm a Gen Xer, they're baby boomers. Things that we did and we were comfortable with, they're not. The way that they communicate is completely different than what somebody my age probably would be used to doing. And they do things. They multitask. They get a lot of things done, and all at the same time. They're used to communicating in a different way. And as these newer channels come up, TikTok is something that I didn't see coming. And I didn't really realize up until like maybe 6 months ago how big TikTok is, and now they got over 1 billion active users. That wasn't around 5 years ago. There are so many things that are here now that are big and have hundreds of millions of people doing it, using them every day, that weren't here 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so companies have to be open to being quick in adopting and looking at, making sure they're keeping a pulse on these things that do come up. Some of them are not going to be important. Others are. And it's kind of hard to pick and choose what they are unless you really spend some time understanding it. And sometimes you just need the right people, who are kind of native to some of these things. You got to have them involved. And so it's about having a kind of organization that is open to change, actually looking for change, looking for ways to improve, and not just looking for ways to be more efficient in what we do. And that means, structuring the organization a little differently, getting more people, multi-generational people around. Geographically speaking, if you have customers in all areas of the world, you're going to want to have an understanding of what's important to those areas of the world from a customer perspective, at least, and from an employee perspective, because chances are, the kind of people you're trying to sell to, you need to have those folks on your payroll, either as employees or either, partner with organizations or other companies that are looking at the same group of people, that consumer group. But it has to be things that maybe are a little uncomfortable because, people generally speaking don't like change. But I think these younger generations, they love it, and they love experimenting with new technology and putting it in place. And companies who are usually not, good with that, they're going to be the ones in trouble. The companies that are willing to look at new technology, look at new platforms, and see what they offer and see how their customers are using them, or maybe not even using them, but maybe we can help them, see the benefit in them because we see the benefit in them. that's those are two kind of foundational changes, just opening up their mind, being more open to it, making sure that they have representation, diversity, inclusion. All of these things are going to be more important as time goes on, I think.
Brilliant, brilliant. So rather than a top-down strategy, it's about being inclusive, it's about being open and to explore what needs to happen to have this feedback loop back into a strategy. And you never know whether a strategy is going to work out or not, right? The key here is that the pace upon which we're experiencing technology change, the pace upon which the strategy has got to change. And I guess really kind of stepping back slightly here, Brent, any tips on how we would like measure and effectively make sure that that strategy is working out for us?
Yeah, I think it's really important to, not just throw stuff out there, but be ready to kind of measure the impact. I'll tell you one thing. We hear a lot about the creator economy, and I hadn't thought about it from a B2B perspective. I've always thought about it from more of a consumer perspective. But I've noticed something lately that I think is something that we all on the B2B side of the house need to be thinking about. And it's through my search to buy the right MacBook Pro. So Apple announced a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month, that they're coming out with their new line of MacBook Pros, and they can do all these crazy amazing things. The big announcement was about like an hour-long keynote. I watched and I was like, this is great. But the thing that got me was not the Apple keynote, although it was really well done. The aftermath of the keynote. I went to YouTube, and there was like running commentaries, people talking about giving analysis on what they heard. They were giving analysis on what they heard in terms of I'm a videographer, this is what it means to me. I'm a photographer, this is what it means to me. And so I was able to get so much more insight on the actual devices that were being offered from other people, not from Apple. But Apple put the content out there, and people, these enthusiasts, they gravitated towards it. Then when I made my decision, I'm supposed to get mine today, so I'm really excited about that. But people have already started receiving their MacBooks. So what's happened since then? As soon as these people start getting them, they're running tests on it. They're putting up videos of it. They're running these benchmarks. They're showing people how it works with this particular software. You are seeing this whole creator economy sell, these MacBooks and devices, and they're not even a part of the formal Apple ecosystem, but they are driving knowledge and insight and buying that I don't think 2 years ago you would have seen at this level. So I think if you are a company and you are a B2B company, and you have to start thinking about how do we do these things, and how do we track if we're on the right track, if we're hitting the right mark. What if we're not? What do we need? Do we just go away, or do we tweak it? And it's this fail fast experimentation kind of gene you have to have now, to not be afraid of trying and not be afraid of failing, as long as you fail fast and you limit the fail in terms of time and resources. I think that is huge in this creator economy, and being able to see how these folks are selling. They're not just selling the product, but they're educating on the product. They're telling you how it compares, how it contrasts, what you can do, what you can't do. They're even telling you, look, don't buy the high level if you don't need it. Now that might be a negative, but at least, it's an honest voice. And I think what people are looking for are honest voices that they can trust when they're looking for a buying decision. And sometimes that's not necessarily a direct employee, but you have to engage even more than maybe 4 or 5 years ago around this.
Yeah, so you've got an influence sphere that goes way beyond a payroll scenario, right? So this is interesting. If I spin this slightly differently, Brent, I think about the needs of customers, because this is an interesting view. You bring up around the influence. What do you think the future needs of customers are going to be over the next? I hate to put a time frame on it, right? But maybe 5 years, maybe see it through to 10. We all know by the time that happens, everything will have changed. But right now, what do you envisage the future needs of the customers would be?
The future needs of the customers are the needs that they've had all along. They've always wanted to be heard. They've always wanted to be valued beyond the transaction. In a lot of cases, maybe this is more of the traditional aspects of the, vendor customer relationship. It really felt like the transaction was all that the vendor was into it for. And customers could feel that. I mean, there aren't that many brands that I, feel all that, warm about, because I think it's only about, they kind of made me feel like it's only about the dollar, about the transaction. I'm as good to you as the last transaction was to their bottom line. And no customer really wants to feel like that. We understand it's business, you got to make money, but we also, we have thoughts, we have things that we think can make it better. In fact, a lot of the customers know more about the product than anybody at the company does, except for maybe the person who built it. But it's these folks live with these products, and so these guys doing these Mac demos that I see, I'm guessing they know more about that MacBook than 80 to 90% of the folks who are actually working at Apple. And that's because they are enthusiastic about it. They're passionate about it, and they live with it. And so why stop at the transaction when they have so much more to offer? And I think it's the company's responsibility to make sure that they nurture that passion. Don't douse it out, but let them feel like they're a part of, the brand. Because in a lot of ways, they're the best brand ambassadors you have, because people trust them because they view them as somebody who's doing it because of the passion, not because of the dollar. And I think that's something that we all can, kind of take lessons from. And instead of try to control customers, you can't, or people out there, you can't. And what we've learned with, more people on the internet and more people on the web and more people talking on social channels, is that any thought of power that a company had, it's gone. Don't even think you have it. It's your job to understand what's going on and to be able to engage on a level that makes people more comfortable and makes them trust you, so that you can be a part of that conversation, collaboration, in a way that will allow you to extend your relationship over time.
Yeah, okay. Really, really cool point. So this is about getting away from the transactional feeling. It's about the feeling included in the way that makes me as a customer feel comfortable and want to engage beyond a transactional relationship. So,
well, let me take a little we've already been on that road, because we've gone from mostly transactional. Now we're doing a lot of subscriptions, a lot of things that we consume, not only as consumers, but as business people, are month-to-month subscriptions. If you're doing that, you don't want to just live month to month, so to speak. You can't just, the only interaction every month is a transaction. I think you have to be in the mindset of every month we have to prove the value that we can deliver in order for us to get another month. So that means we're not just communicating on a transactional level. We're communicating on an informational level, on a content level, on how can we help you get more out of this service. And if you are starting to think like that and you're walking down that path, that's great, because then you're open to all these other things that we're talking about. But it all starts with getting out of the kind of the traditional, you buy it, our relationship is done until the next time we have something we want to sell to you, and we'll reach out at that point. That mindset's got to go. That's got to go if you really want to make a go of it in the future with customers.
you've got to find a way of exceeding customer expectations, right? So they really see the value. And what impact do you think no code platforms can play in that?
Well, it's no code makes it easy for us to roll this stuff out. I mean, the thing about having all these great ideas and having all these great thoughts about how we could do this, unless you're able to put those things in motion, that's all they are, is great thoughts and great ideas. People don't want great thoughts and ideas. People want great services and experiences. So if those thoughts and ideas can't get into services and experiences, what's the point of having them? And so no code allows the people having the idea to actually put it in place. At least a higher percentages of those ideas get put in place, because sometimes idea to IT for getting put in place, something gets lost in transition. Something, something may be left out. There may be, oh, this is good, but oh God, I forgot to put this in. So you have a change order that has to go through the process. Sometimes it gets done, sometimes it doesn't. But if you have you have a no code platform and you have people that are willing to, to take their ideas and not have to code it to a certain extent, but just do some clicks, do some swipes, they're going to do it. And you're going to see more of these great ideas become great experiences and services and all sorts of things. But it has to happen and driven from the folks who are at the forefront of the business, at the forefront of the relationship with the customers, but they're not coders. So if you give them tools that allow them to take what's in their head and get it out there and create that experience, you have a much more likelihood of finding success and extending customer relationships longer than you ever did before.
Sounds great, Brent. Where do I sign? Right. This is about
Isn't that CREATIO.com? Isn't that where you sign?
Fantastic. So this is about empowering the business and being able to work at a pace that allows you to test your theory, fail fast or succeed, get there quicker than your competition, empower the business rather than be reliant on this traditional IT scenario that can hit miss or fail or succeed, but tends to take longer. And by the time you've actually met the market, everything's changed. So you've got to then catch up in a loop. So look, this is a really good poignant point, because things are going faster and faster. Where do we see things like automation, digitization? Where does that help us in this ever increasing market that we have?
Well, we just talked about how things are accelerating, things are picking up, speeding, and that's where automation and hyper automation fits in. Because look, we're humans. There's a limit to what we can do, but if we can take the time to, create the right idea or have the right ideas and put the right processes in place, automation allows those processes to go off and do what we need to do, scale when we need them to scale. When we're hitting more and more people, we're doing all the right things. We're able to, get it even in more hands of more people. That's where the automation comes in, and that's critically important. Well, one thing I wanted to point out on, because I don't want to feel like, the IT folks are left out. I think no code and automation, they help the IT folks just as much as they help the business folks, because they get to concentrate on making sure all these things that we need, like the building blocks, the foundation that allows this stuff to scale and be secure, and make sure that all the things that we don't want to think about, we want to think about the core business stuff. We want to let that IT think about the IT stuff, because if we're able to do as much as we can, on the business side with no code, that frees them up to think about, making sure that we're able to scale when we want to go international, or making sure that we're secure and we're not getting hacked all the time and our customer data is safe. And so it actually, no code helps, the IT folks, the hardcore IT folks, just as much as it helps the no code.
It certainly does.
The business folks. Yeah.
It certainly does. Like, integrations need to happen. Okay. So this is about automating process. It's about empowering the business, but IT is critical in terms of the infrastructure, as you say, for scaling and getting that integration to happen in the environment. So look, this is really, really helpful, Brent. I've got a question in from the audience, if I can, because we've talked very much about the pace. We've talked about what needs to change in the business and how to embrace that. The questions coming through here, lots of change. Is there a technology that you see prevailing above all others over the next, they've said 10 years here, but let's just say, a good degree of time going forwards? Is there one prevailing technology here?
Yeah, one that I've been really looking at and hoping for ever since I got my first Amazon Echo device, and that's conversational AI. If we're, it's nice to be able to, maybe order a pizza or, set your thermostat, but those things are great. They're very simple commands, and some of these voice speakers do that well. But I would love to be able to, we all work with all these business applications. I would love to be able to just talk to my application and have it do the things that I typically have to do, the swipe and type and click. I would love to just have a conversation and get that done. Just think about the user adoption that would happen. Let's take the professional salesperson. They hate using CRM. They don't want to sit in the office and put data in and keep their notes up. That's like the last. They want to be out there, talking with customers, engaging, building relationships, getting, moving their deals along. That's what they live for. They do not want to be sitting in an office in front of a keyboard typing and inputting. Wouldn't it be great if they could just talk to their applications, their SFA application, and be able to do all the things that their bosses want them to do, which is get data in? Because if you're able to get data from them, because they're the ones doing the main interacting with their prospects, you're getting great information. And let's face it, a lot of that great information is not getting into the CRM application right now because the sales folks do not want to put it in. They don't want to sit around and type. So what if we made it easy for them to input that information? What if we made it easier for them to ask for the information that they want when they need it, instead of having to go to a keyboard and search and do all that? If we're able to get conversational AI, and I think we're getting close to the point where it understands us and understands us whatever language we're talking in, we can have a conversation. It's not just, I say one thing, it says something back, then I have to start over. And what if it's an actual conversation like you and I are having with your application that allows you to get everything you need in and out of your system with your voice? Then you'll have a transformation of how business is done, because now we're able to, instead of having to type and instead of having to learn a language, which is, something that speaking to computers, you had to learn the computer language. What if we could just talk like we're doing now, and we're talking like that with our application? How much more productive would we be? How much more efficient would we be? How much more data would go into those systems? How much more AI capabilities could use that data to put out even better insights? That's what I'm hoping for. And I think we actually have an opportunity for that to happen.
Fantastic. So a mix here, Brent. Your view of easy access. I would add into that making sure that there's a reward, something of value for the salesperson to be in the CRM. And that's what I spend a lot of my time talking to clients about as well. I think a happy medium here of easy access and value, a reason that draws you in. Maybe a few leads, hey? But anyway, look, Brent, I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. I'm really looking forward to catching up again soon, but thank you ever so much for sharing your thoughts with us all here today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew. That was great. Love talking with you.
All right. What an amazing discussion. I could have listened to Andrew and Brent all day. I don't know about the rest of the audience, but yeah, we've got some other great content to share. So what a wonderful conversation. But when I was asked to host this event, this was actually the most exciting session I was hoping to take part in. And that's what's new in Creatio. I'm actually joined today by two of my esteemed colleagues, Mike Uden, who is our Director of Engineering, and Alex Petronenko, who is our Product Evangelist. Guys, are you out there? All right, anytime, guys. There they are. I thought you guys were going to leave me here on my own. Welcome.
Hi, Eric.
How's it going?
Yeah, not too shabby. How are you today? How's our event going?
It's going really well. I don't know if you caught that last session, but man, Andrew and Brent just could have gone on for days. I swear.
Well, we're very excited to join our second day and be the speakers for our major product update, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just mentioning that this is one of the sessions that I was looking most forward to in the event, and that is our major product update. So today we're going to be walking through, what's new in Creatio. How are we developing our CRM as well as our no-code tools that will help you, accelerate business growth, well into 2022 and beyond. So why don't we go ahead and move forward, Alex? So again, just two of my favorite people here at Creatio, Mike Uden, Alex Petronenko. These are our gurus. They are our hardest working men in show business, I'm convinced. So you guys should really be looking forward to their presentations today. But before we jump in, I would like to give a brief overview of Creatio for those that may be joining us for the first time. For everybody else that's on here, this will be your 150th time probably hearing me say this. But by way of introduction to Creatio and who Creatio is a global provider of one platform to automate industry workflows and CRM utilizing no code. We're focused in many different areas across the world, and to help us support the thousands of customers that have chosen Creatio as their platform of choice. We have a very robust partner network, many of whom are on the event today, but we have over 700 partners within our network consisting of global system integrators, as well as consultants that help us reach into 110 countries. The company, as well as the platform, are highly recognized by leading analysts at Gartner and Forrester, including being named to 5 Gartner Magic Quadrants, as well as 7 Forrester Waves. What you're seeing in front of you here is a snapshot of the CREATIO architecture. And at the foundation really is our crown jewel. That is the Studio Creatio platform, where we're enabling citizen developers. You don't necessarily need to be a coder or a developer to create applications, design workflows, modify workflows. You can do that very easily utilizing our low-code technology that's built into the foundation of our platform. On top of that is really where we have built composable applications for sales, marketing, and service automation. And that fourth box that you're seeing there is our Creatio Marketplace. Many of our partners are contributing to our marketplace, but this is where you can find hundreds of out-of-the-box connectors, add-ons, templates that will help you extend the core functionality of the Creatio platform to other aspects of your business. All right, so before I turn it over to Alex and Mike, I just wanted to let the audience know that throughout the presentation, we're going to be having a no-code quiz. So we'll ask a series of questions. We'll give you a little bit of time to answer. And the person that provides the most correct answers will be receiving a set of Apple AirPods. So this would be a very good incentive for you to take part in the quiz. I feel. I promise they won't be the ones that Mike are using today. They'll be your very own. So why don't we go ahead and move in? So we're going to be talking about some low-code, no-code trends, and I believe I'm turning it over to you first, Mike.
Oh, Eric, I believe that we first have our first quiz.
You know what? That's right. We're going to jump right into this, guys. So we have our first quiz question. So what is the percentage of organizations that have paused their digital transformation initiatives due to the COVID-19 pandemic? So just as a reminder, put your answers into chat. We'll give the audience a little bit of time here to respond. What do you guys think? You think that number is going to be high, low?
Well, I think that no matter what is the actual number, it's still too much, right? Because you can't really delay the digital transformation for any reason, right? Even though it is COVID-19. And we're very sorry to see that, those organizations that have actually had to postpone and now have to really find ways of catching up with their business goals and their strategies.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, so why don't we close the polls here and take a look at what that percentage is. It's actually quite low, right? It's only up to 5% of organizations pause their initiatives, and I think it's to your point, Alex, right? We always have to be innovating if we're going to, stay ahead of any disruption. So, if we look across multiple industries, that percentage could be even lower. People that have to maintain and pivot very quickly, probably even lower than 5%.
Yep.
All right. So now, Mike, I believe we're handing it over to you to start your portion of the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. So this year we have published a state of low-code and no-code report, which is based on more than 1,000 of interviews and surveys based on our domain experts, IT directors, and executives from corporate and enterprise segment. And let me share some insight with you. So with this uncertainty still, with like COVID-19 uncertainty still looming in 2021, it was interesting for us to uncover how digital transformation plans are unfolding. So, and we found out that despite the COVID-19, the global pandemic, 95% of respondents pushed forward with their digital transformation initiatives. So this results show that the most organizations observe a positive correlation between the success of their digital transformation initiatives and the business performance. And also, the results show that 33% of respondents believe that the key barrier to the digital transformation is a lack of skilled resources. So every company becomes a software company these days, and as automation plays a significant role in companies' ability to adapt and speed up the growth. So there is a significant gap, as we see, to the demand and supply of the skilled software engineers. And this is where low-code and no-code platforms can play in, right? And can alleviate the increasing demand on the IT resources by enabling actually like a business users to perform more work themselves. We also found out that the current depth of process automation among the organization of all sizes is still low. So up to 30% of processes are not automated at all, and only about 10% of business processes are fully automated. And of what is already automated, a majority of users utilize out-of-the-box capabilities and with some additional custom coding. And with the rise of the low-code platforms, we see that we expect the trend to be changed in the upcoming years. More organizations will be able to manage complex process automation projects self-sufficiently using low-code and no-code platforms. And let's have a look at what Gartners are what Gartner's key trends define for adoption of the no-code and low-code platforms. So there are actually three major trends defined by the Gartner. So the first one is democratization. So employees outside of IT departments create technology and analytics for external and internal use, and the low-code application platforms, it's actually they empower diverse teams of business users to deliver innovation. The next trend is hyper automation. It involves the orchestrated use of multiple technology and tools for successful hyper automation. And the low-code application platforms are among three top tools used for the automation in the past 12 months. And the last one is a composable apps. So technology strategists abandon so-called package solution. So according to Gartner, strategic inputs, fixed application experiences no longer meet business and customer requirements. So organizations are adopting a composition technologies that enable teams to implement composable applications. Back to you, Eric.
All right, yeah, let's ask our second question here. So what is the percentage of enterprise organizations that have already adopted or are planning to adopt a no-code or low-code solution in the near future? So again, submit your answers in the chat section. The most amount of correct answers are going to get you a pair of Apple AirPods, and we'll be announcing that winner on tomorrow's session, actually. Again, what is the percentage of enterprise organizations that have already adopted or are planning to adopt a no-code or low-code solution in the near future? So this ought to be another interesting percentage here, guys. Give just another couple of seconds for the audience to wrap up, and we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and show what the correct answer is, Alex. All right, 75%. So Gartner anticipates that by 2024, 75% of large enterprises will be using at least 4 low-code development tools for both IT application development as well as citizen development initiatives as well. So, directly speaking to your point there, Mike. Excellent. So, Alex, I believe the next section is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to take over, and we're going to continue talking about some of the trends that have been recognized in the low-code, no-code market, right? And first of all, we're going to talk about how many actually applications are being developed within the enterprises using this technology. So if within, as calculated within year 2020, about only 25% of those apps been developed using this technology, Gartner is actually evaluating that by 2025, the percentage will grow up to 70%. So you can imagine that it's almost 300% growth of apps going to be built using low-code and no-code technologies. And this is a great differentiator that, the vision of low-code and accelerated time to value and time to market is shared by enterprises and shared by different organizations. And of course, even though that there is a very clear kind of separation as of now into what are the types of applications that are going to be developed by citizen developers and what applications are developed by pro developers, right? From kind of the perspective of who is that developer, what are the preferred tools, and what even are the typical applications that are being developed. We definitely already recognize, and analysts are also recognizing that there's going to be a shift in these differentiators. So first of all, we definitely see that, and Gartner is as well kind of predicting that the amount of citizen developers at those enterprises is going to be growing, right? And it's going to go up to 4 times that the number of professional developers, right? So you can imagine the number of those, mid-business, mid-developer people that are going to be empowered with those local technologies. And you can only imagine how fast and what are going to be those applications that they're going to be able to produce. And even though the differentiation and kind of the separation between low code and no code currently is about 50-50, where the IT still remains the main user of low code and business users are mostly using no code. We actually believe that there is going to be a clash and there's going to be a merge of both of those markets into one, right? Creating this market where low code and no code are going to be sharing a lot of common features. They're going to be sharing a lot of common approaches to the design of applications. And this means that very soon, right, all of the organizations are going to be working within the low code and no code framework for system development and system design. And of course, the number of use cases and types of processes or tasks that could be covered with low code is truly endless, because this is where we're talking about very different types of applications that could be designed across all of the different business units available within organizations, within enterprises. So whether those are going to be traditional CRMs, whether those are going to be non-traditional applications such as finance or legal, right? All of those applications can and will be implemented and designed with low code and no code technologies. And this is extremely exciting, and we're very much looking forward to this new reality. And Eric, I think we've got another quiz before we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question, guys, is what is the percentage of leading companies that have a citizen development program in place or actually use citizen developers? So again, this is for your opportunity to win a pair of Apple AirPods. The most correct answers will win that prize and will be announced on tomorrow's session. So question is, what is the percentage of leading companies that have a citizen development program in place or actually use citizen developers today?
All right. So what are your thoughts, guys?
I think that it's going to be pretty high. I think that it's an emerging trend that we're seeing, right?
All right, yeah, but just don't give any hints to our audience.
That's right.
Fair game.
Won't do it. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Let's take a look at what that percentage is.
All right.
80%. See, I told you it was going to be high. Almost 80% of leading companies, these are the pace setters, guys, right? Use citizen developers, to stay ahead of disruption, to stay ahead of their competition. So no surprise there. Excellent. Mike, back over to you.
All right, so let's proceed, and I want to cover the 4 key focuses that we have the remainder of this year and for the next year for our platform development. So the first one is of course, the low code and no code platform. So, and here our main focus is to make it possible to create a new application faster and give as much as possible of capabilities for our end users. The second key focus for us is composability, and this is all about how you can build applications with assembling a Lego-like box using combining out-of-the-box components, some marketplace apps, and the end-user customizations. And of course, this is not going to be achieved without the engaging products. So we are putting a lot of focus to our human-centric UIs that addresses the modern user behavioral patterns. And of course, the marketplace, which is the first thing is, of course, this is a place where our users can find various solutions like vertical solution, add-ons, templates, and content, and of course, all of the technological partners that we are acquiring. So without further ado, let's proceed to the key updates in the CREATIO products. And the first thing I want to mention that we will start with the low code and no code platform side as usual. And so let's have a look at our offering. So as a no code platform vendor, we are focusing on simultaneously in the multiple things, like starting from visual modeling tools, of course, drag and drop interfaces and reach out of the box functionality. And at the same time, we are constantly working on something like security, reporting, monitoring, and of course, application lifecycle management, which allows us to simplify and streamline the several stages in the software development lifecycle, such as debugging, testing, and deployment of the applications. And right now, I'm happy to announce the first new update in this great release, and it is a user interface, completely new user interface designer. So it is a great new tool which allows our users to create new user interfaces without any limitations. So it is built using a component model, meaning it comes with a lot of different pre-built components with a standardized library developed in accordance with the latest industry standards. And at the same time, it is extensible. So the developers can introduce new components and then for citizen developers to use during their customizations. And I'm gonna live demo you all of these new features in just a couple of slides. So you'll see all of this great features live. All right, going forward, so we are constantly improving our business process engine. So from now on, our users can create a group task in the workflows and collaborate on these activities from the communication panel. And another great feature is a playbook. It allows to include a process description and highlight key points to any section where we have a dynamic cases. So this feature helps to greatly accelerate the learning curve for new users and simplify complex activities for everyone. And of course, we are putting strong emphasis on platform performance. So the loading speed of dynamic cases and tasks on this release was increased by something like 10 times. And we are greatly improved also a speed of the application development and also application installation. And this is achieved by eliminating the need to recompile the whole application during the design and installation of the app. Okay. All right, so without further ado, let's dive in, and I want to show you a live demo of all of these exciting things. Okay, so I'm gonna start and show you how you can create a new application. So in the install application section, we've got a new action to create a new app. So once I click there, the system drives me through this process of application creation. And today, I'm gonna show you how to create a request management app. So once I hit to create an application, a lot of things is going on behind the scenes, and our app is going to be created, and it can contain different things like pages, data models, business processes, and which can be either created by hand or imported from the notation, and of course integration, something like REST and SOAP APIs. But let's start with our create brand new user interface designer. So this is a place where you can create any user interface for edit pages, etc. So on the left side of the screen, you can see that there are different kind of things, like some data models that we can use and actually leverage different data sources. We have a different charts and dashboards like metrics and bars and all kind of things. And of course, we have various kind of components. And again, this can be extended by developers. And so it simply works in a drag and drop manner. So I just drag a label to the screen, and then I can do all the setup later on. And the great feature of this release is actually the capabilities allow the layouting. So from now on, you can design a custom page and include any user interface that you like, because you can add multiple areas, you can work with multiple columns, and define whether you want to structure your page in 2 rows or 2 columns or 3 columns, or have a flexible number of the elements on the page. And of course, you can add different inputs to your page. So let's dive in and let me create this request management app. So in the first place, I'm gonna add some components to the page, like let's say the tabs, right? Where I can put a lot of different information on the page, and also some data from the request object, something like, let's say, a name of our request, and some fields for where this request is going to be created, etc. So, and I want you to notice that we dramatically reduce the number of clicks that you need to do in order to do your things is done. So essentially, this is achieved that you do not need to change to the interfaces, because we've got a right panel, the properties panel, where you can, for instance, in order to make your field read-only, is just a 1 click, right? And of course, you can change the various properties of your control elements, like data types and various other things. Okay, so let's have a look of how we can work with dashboards. So let me drop and add, for instance, a metric, right? So if I drop a metric to the page, as you can see, it is very easy and clean and straightforward on how I can introduce a new dashboard on the screen, how I can easily resize and give it enough room for my dashboard. And on the right side, I can easily add the control other properties, like the color, right, of my dashboard, or a style of my dashboard. And also, if I click on stop chart, of course, I need to provide like detailed information where I want to get this data from. So in this case, it's going to be request object, and I'm going to calculate the number of records of on the page. In the same time, we've added a feature to copy any object on the page. So now it's even easier for you to set up a new charts or any essentially any component on the page. And again, coming to the layout capabilities. So you can define in any element, be it a tab or any other page element, you can define what number of rows would be on the page. And then I can just copy it like this and drop this dashboard to the page, and maybe some couple of fields like description, etc. And the other thing that I want to show you is how easy it is right now to configure and change the work with buttons, right? So starting from this release, you can define, like, add a new button to the page, and then define what action will actually this button will perform, whether it's going to run a business process or save a page or do something else, right? So it's have never been easier to introduce new logic on your buttons on the page. So again, let's have a look at what are the results. And for this, I'm gonna switch to the section and I'm gonna create new request. So as you can see, the page looks 100% the same as it was in the design time, right? So it makes it just much easier for you to design your pages. And also, since it's an Angular app, we've updated all of the control elements that you use to input some data on the page. And so it's just, I believe this is a next level tool. So this designer is great. And one other thing that I want you to see is, as I mentioned previously, you not only can design like an edit pages, but also a list page and a dashboard. So for instance, let me configure a different list page. So I'll gonna pick a few columns that I want to display on the page. This might be something like name, description, and any number of different columns that I want to display on my grid page. And this is not the only thing that I can do, of course. As you see on the left panel, we have the ability to pick all of the components that we had on the edit page. And in this example, I'm gonna put, let's say I'm gonna add 2 different dashboard and to add just a little bit of analytic capability to my list page. For instance, to calculate the number of requests that are coming and according to the current filtration. And of course, you can build any level of a complexity here and add any user interface which suits your business requirements. That's I think that's it on my demo. Thank you.
Wow, Mike, that was incredible, and I'm pretty sure that our chat was absolutely on fire, or people were just speechless, because these are completely new tools, and they are incredibly flexible, right? Easy to use. They give you more freedom to operate with the user interface, right? Create very tailored, very specific, very shiny, brand new interfaces, right? And the possibilities are truly endless.
Yeah, I can't wait to see when these features are going to be shipped to our users and see what great interfaces our community can configure with this tool.
Absolutely, and the word about CREATIO is going to spreading through the internet, and I can't wait to hear about hear the feedback from our customers and partners using these new shiny and incredible tools.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, thank you very much for the live demo. Again, speechless, incredible. And let's carry on with the next section of our presentation, where we're going to be talking about the universe of composable apps. And I'm pretty sure that everybody's quite excited to talk about the composability, right? And what are the new updates to our composable apps. But Eric, I think that it is time for another quiz.
Absolutely, Alex. All right. By how many times will the number of citizen developers exceed professional developers at large enterprises by 2023? So again, submit your answers in the chat section. And this is a very specific question here, right? By how many times will the number of citizen developers exceed professional developers at large enterprises by 2023? So we're waiting for the results here, guys. But I also wanted to echo Alex's statement, Mike. What a tremendous demo there. I'm sure our user community is drooling and waiting to get their hands on those tools.
Yay.
All right, let's wrap up the poll and take a look at the statistic. All right, by 2023, the number of active citizen developers at large enterprises will be at least 4 times the number of professional developers. And again, that's 4 times. So we saw that earlier. I think Brent might have given that clue away in his session in the last.
And we actually gave a clue during the presentation ourselves, right?
So everybody got that one right.
yeah. Hopefully, right? We're just getting ahead, allowing people to win those AirPods. But go. Eric, let's speed up a little bit because we are running out of time. And let me remind you guys, what is a composable app, right? So think about it as a composability, where not only you can actually create your application from scratch using all of those great and incredible tools that Mike just presented, but you can as well make your time to market much, much faster by actually reusing some of the ready-to-go components and functionalities, right? Such as global search, approvals, data import, and analytics. And you can as well go through a marketplace, right? Through a library of plug-and-play connectors and integrations, and as well just quickly install a feature, right? An add-on that is going to bring more power to your application. And then as well, you have a library of reusable components of a CRM application, right? So invoices or orders that you can as well use in order to deliver your very unique custom business application through composability, right? And of course, CREATIO has more than 800 ready-to-use composable apps, right, that can actually allow you to create those applications much, much faster. And today I'm going to be talking about new features and improvements that have been introduced with the newest version. So first of all, we're going to start with the data deduplication. In this case, we actually now allow end users to quickly identify if a record that they're looking at currently has a duplicate available, and as well take action in merging that data, of course, within their access rights and permissions, to actually remove the duplicates from the application. And we're pretty sure that this is going to allow our users to have data cleaner in their applications. Now, as well, we have significantly simplified the way that the users can actually manage invitations to calendar and group activities from the activities section of CREATIO, where with one just click, they can send out those invitations and they can actually track the responses within CREATIO, not needing to switch between multiple systems and apps. Now, we are as well actually providing improvements and enhancements to our chat functionality across multiple channels, and now actually allowing to start the chat across any area of the application, and as well take chat actions and control of the chat, such as transfer to another agent, sending it back to a queue of agents or even to different queues, right? And of course, see if there are any duplicates of data across the chat participants. We as well have been working on the updates to our mobile application, now supporting mobile portal access, where all of these type of functionality, like submitting a request or submitting a case, tracking its status, communication with the support team, and as well just attaching any files from the mobile phones library is now fully supported, which we're pretty sure is going to make the overall scope of usability a lot better. And of course, allow just additional features that our customers can introduce to their own clients. And last but not least, as well, the introduction of native out-of-box integration with LinkedIn landing pages, now allowing the organizations to generate, not only to generate, but as well to capture and populate generated leads directly into CREATIO without any third-party add-ons, right? By actually making the whole setup process a lot smoother, a lot nicer, and just native and enjoyable to work with. And since we're running out of time, I'm going to drive us through a very quick demo before we continue with some of our updates. So let's switch to the demo. And first of all, we're going to talk about the data deduplication, right? Where, of course, across those sections where duplicates are most common, such as contacts, when opening up one of the records, we'll see if there are any duplicates available. And navigating to the data merging will allow us to quickly, with just a few clicks, remove all of those duplicates available. And speaking of the contact record, right, as we're navigating to the record, we also kind of remember that within our actions dashboard, where we can take common actions of, and communicate with the customer, we've got new controls of starting chats across different channels. And of course, when the chat is active, we actually now can perform multiple actions, like looking if there are duplicates, right? Actually, transfer this chat to different agents or to a different queue, as I mentioned, and as well just performing other actions and even running custom business processes that are available within the application. And of course, all of these are going to bring a lot of great functionality, a lot of great improvements to the efficiency. And speaking of Actions dashboard, right? All of our customers and users love Actions dashboards based on how simply it is to create new meetings with their contacts, right, across all of the application. And now, when we're creating a new meeting with our contacts, we can actually jump into the list of the participants and with just one click, send out the invitation to those contacts and to those participants, just so that the system can do the rest and we can simply view the status and if they have actually accepted this invite. And of course, moving forward from here, right, what else do we want to talk about is the integration settings with LinkedIn, right? So within a new section where we can actually manage social integrations, we can see if we've got any LinkedIn integration set up, right? Which forms from the social network we're going to be populating data from, and the data mapping. And even the process of adding new accounts is extremely simple. Just go through a few steps in the process, provide login and provide access to LinkedIn profiles. And that will actually allow you to then configure the setting and configure this access. And of course, two more things. Within the business process management engine on SOM, where we've got our user engaging elements, we can now actually configure these tags being distributed not just to the user or his manager, but as well to a specific role of users, right? Easily managing the common tasks that are going to be distributed across groups of users. And of course, last but not least, right, the great update to the execution of the processes, where across any DCM or dynamic case management, for each of the stages, we can configure those playbooks that Mike mentioned, where we can actually define any goals, any key steps, and even the content that can be used. And the way that we're going to be managing those is actually through knowledge base articles, right, where you can easily write those out and specify to which stage and across which section are we going to be connecting this knowledge base. So that is a very quick drive-through. Again, we're out of time as always, right? And there is always a lot of great features that we need to go through. But I would like to remind you guys that we as well have a absolutely free of charge 14-day trial that is available on our website across our 4 main products. So we absolutely encourage everybody to go out and start a trial and try some of those features out. Now, a few more updates. First of all, as Marketplace is one of our key strategic pillars of the development of the company, we are daily registering and publishing new applications on the Marketplace. And as part of that initiative to push the design of applications across all of the CREATIO enthusiasts, this year we actually hosted our first CREATIO NoCode hackathon. And we had hundreds of participants of that marathon. And actually, we have published many applications submitted by the participants. So we definitely encourage everybody to create their own applications. And as well, in other news, not just from our marketplace, but from the world of technological partnerships, is also the fact that CREATIO is now listed on Amazon Web Services Marketplace, which as well proves the high level and dedication of CREATIO of creating best-in-class and world-class applications for low-code and no-code design, which is recognized by leading technological companies in the world. And Mike, since Marketplace is kind of your jam as well, anything you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I just want to, again, take the time to encourage all of you to create and publish new Marketplace apps. So we'll have a lot of composable applications to use during the process automation. Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thanks, Mike. So guys, just one more thing, as this story goes, right? And as one of the best presentations we've ever seen probably goes, one more thing that we wanted to mention. So I'm extremely excited to mention, guys, that we are now working already on our newest release that we call the Freedom Release. And this release is already in the books. You can add it already into your calendar. It's going to happen on the 8th of February. We're going to be presenting probably the biggest update in the history of the company, both in terms of the company itself and the product. And I'm actually very lucky to be the one who's going to give you a sneak peek of CREATIO version 8.0. So we're now going to be moving to the newest version of CREATIO, because we are releasing a completely new approach in creation of custom business applications with our studio product, right? The completely new way of looking into how SaaS solutions should be created in the on the market and in the world. And of course, this new experience of building applications is going to be following our newest tools for system configuration that Mike has already presented, but will be much more empowered with additional features, additional controls, and additional functionality options that we all so much love. So we're very excited to invite you to the Freedom Release, and we're very excited to be working on these great tools that we're pretty sure that you're going to love. At this point, this is everything from my side. Eric, Mike, thank you very much for being part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Mike. And just a reminder to everybody that the results of our quiz will be published in tomorrow's session. So be sure to join. And if you get the most correct answers, you'll get your Apple AirPods. So thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Eric. See you guys later.
Thank you, Eric. See ya.
All right. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, welcome back, everyone. And this brings us to our last session of the day, which is our digital circle. And today we're going to be discussing how do we eliminate the limits for business growth with no-code strategies and best practices. So I'm pleased to be joined by some esteemed colleagues. We have Chris Slade, who is the commercial director from Format 14 CRM. Chris, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
All right.
Good afternoon,
And,
good morning.
yeah, depending upon where we are, right, Chris? It's a beauty of being a global organization. And Tolga Arten. Tolga is the chairman of Lucky Eye. Tolga, it's a pleasure to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, Eric. It's all great in Istanbul. It's a bit late. It's 7 p.m. right now in Istanbul, but everything is fine.
All right, excellent. Well, we appreciate you joining at such a late hour. So as always, we enjoy our conversation. So guys, as we start to think about the topic, how do we eliminate those barriers to growth within organizations, and we start to look at what those challenges might be. Great way to kind of maybe start the conversation is to understand what those challenges are. So I'll put this out there, guys, and feel free to just jump right in. But what do you see as the main barriers or the main challenges that are limiting business growth in today's world?
I think from my perspective, it's really challenging the status quo. So, most organizations that we're dealing with, seem to have a pretty large applications backlog. Mm-hmm. And, it really stops the business going to IT, to their partners, and sort of saying, I need these amendments made, or I need these new systems introduced. Because they're just used to being told, push back, you have to wait 6 months, a year, 24 months sometimes, so before they can move forward. So status quo, just not accepting no for an answer, really. So, there's people who are in a hurry at the moment coming out of the pandemic.
Absolutely. We have a saying here in the States that the quick and the dead, right? That's how you have to look at it. Tolga, what do you think are some of those biggest challenges?
I think what we face here in my region is there's a big uncertainty in terms of living, economic conditions, business conditions, and this makes companies and organizations they have a lack of speed in decision-making processes. And this makes them to stop changing their company to more flexible. So they cannot adapt to new world after COVID, I believe. And this is the basic thing that we are facing for business growth in our country right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're seeing that in multiple areas. And if I think of, the challenges that, as I'm talking to customers that I'm seeing out there is the ability to predict those disruptors, right? Like being able to, learn, I don't think any organization has a data problem. It's how do we leverage that data to better predict, what those disruptors are going to be. And, to your point, Chris, how do we get ahead of those quicker, right? Like, let's not maintain that status quo. Let's make sure that we get out ahead of these disruptors. And, I really think that, low code and no code is a way to do that, right? We can start to build predictive models. We can start to understand, we can develop quicker, not have those project backlogs that, we're starting to see today.
I mean, we try to really go and meet, our customers and take a digital first approach. But what we're really looking for is an opportunity to talk about a point of view. The sort of no-code point of view means you have more rapid ROI. Means you have happier users. It means you can achieve some of those dreams and plans that your business has been talking about, and now you can put them into place quicker than with traditional systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's poll the audience as well. You can respond to this in the chat section, guys. So the poll question is this: what are the main constraints for your business growth? And the options today are, is it high competition in the market, lack of flexibility, lack of technological innovation, or lack of skilled resources? So 4 very good, choices and things that we see out in the market. So we'll give the audience a few minutes to kind of respond to that, guys, and it'll be interesting to see those results. So as we move forward in the discussion, these are very good points. And, if we start to think about those challenges, we have to also start to think about, how we're going to overcome those constraints and those challenges. So in your world, guys, you're in this day in, day out. What is the best approach? And can you share with the audience, how do they overcome these challenges?
Yeah, very good question, Eric. So, the challenge is, people are coming forward with this backlog of applications that they have to, I suppose, ration. They have limited capital for investment. They want to put their money where they get the greatest return on return. So we're helping them really use no code to do, application prototyping wherever possible. So help the business visualize what this will mean to their working practices. And with the more advanced business process management and workflows, we're able to demonstrate an end-to-end application much quicker than normal, and to use that as a way of getting consensus and commitment from people to allocate resources to a project, and then traditionally running projects in an agile way with rapid deliverables where appropriate, and so on. Yeah.
Great. Togo, what are your thoughts?
I think understanding the change in the environment is very vital right now. And to do this, we have to get the data of the customers, partners, and other people in the organization about their expectations. And to be a more agile and a consistent company, you have to reflect these expectations to your processes, which the no-code and low-code systems takes place here, I believe, because you have to experiment the right choice, because you can never be sure about what is the exact true option among the others before trying them. I call it experimental way of doing something. And in marketing, for example, it's very important to do experiments to get these insight from other parties and deploy them. So we have to experiment, and we need some flexible applications or technical environment to reflect these changes. And this is where no-code and low-code platforms takes the responsibility or gets into the action, I believe, because we are helping the business users to reflect their ideas into business operations. And this is actually helping them to measure the KPIs and the reflection of the changes that they are doing in these uncertain times. And it makes everything easier and fast, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And it's also when we think of like innovation, right, we want to bring in people to be collaborative in that environment as well. So many times, ideas were created on the business side of the house and then pushed out to IT that had to kind of try to understand that. Well, I believe that no code truly bridges that gap and brings everybody into to a collaborative mode, and that's really where innovation happens, and it allows organizations to become ahead of the curve, right? Like as opposed to trying to keep up. And to your point, Chris, I think that as they're as people are challenged, and they have to start to look at where can they get the biggest bang for their buck, right? We have to understand time to value in these projects, and being able to demonstrate that value by saying, hey, we can accelerate this development process, start to recognize a value immediately. That helps us sell projects and helps us achieve goals a lot quicker. So I think that that's something that's a great approach. That's the way you have to look at it, right?
And the carrot of the citizen developer is very very motivational to some organizations, because there's a bunch of people they've hired who are pretty IT literate. They're in operations type jobs. They can easily help stand up some of these applications that do not require programming, and therefore take more ownership in terms of the success of the rollout of these assignments. So we see quite a connection there. Plus, IT, it's almost impossible to hire people sometimes. There's very people are scarce, skill set, resources, it's very competitive to get people. There's a lot of price inflation, wages at the moment. So it's difficult. So no code sort of bodes well from that perspective in many ways.
Absolutely. And as we think about no code, helping to promote that business or company growth, what are some specific examples? Do you guys have any specific examples of how no code have helped your clients overcome challenges and grow?
It's really clearing the applications backlog. They've had a desire to have new functionality for quite some time, and they've been pushed back by the business has been pushed back, saying they have to wait, and the no code opportunity has given them the ability to bring forward product changes in financial services and investment products much faster. Yes, so that's very good.
Yeah.
And I think it brings agility to the organization in every detail, in every department, which helps the company to understand the change around the business and reflect it, I believe. And especially for the business users to get more role in the process of developing things about them. It helps them to understand the process more clean and reflect the changes accordingly, which makes the company gain higher productivity and agility, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agility is key, right? Agility is, I think, a key aspect of no code that enables people to pivot very quickly as business needs change or business workflows change. You need to be able to adapt and be agile enough. I go back to we have a customer here in Massachusetts, where I'm from, where when the pandemic hit and lockdown occurred, it was a construction company, and they weren't able to get back to work building, the beautiful skyscrapers here in Boston. And when the time came for those individuals to come, back to work, and, lockdown restrictions were lifted, they needed a way to get these employees, which there were, thousands of them, back to work very quickly. So with, no code really enabled them to develop applications that would, one, be able to, track those individuals that are coming back to work, limiting their exposure, being able to track who they came in contact with that particular day, should anything arise. But that's just a great example of being agile enough to get, hundreds, thousands of people back to work in a quick and efficient manner. They were able to get that application up and running in less than 2 weeks. And with traditional development, you wouldn't have been able to do that, right? You needed to be very agile and being able to pivot very well. So I think that that's the biggest value. But let's ask the audience what their thoughts are on the benefits of no code. So again, you can submit your answers in the chat section. And the question today is, which benefits of no code development do you consider as the most valuable for your business? The choices today are cost savings, accelerated time to market, better resource allocation, bridging collaboration gaps between departments, or flexibility. I think there needs to be another one in there, guys, right? It's all of the above, right? But yeah, great question, and great way to kind of think about how no code is going to bring value to organizations. So when we think to the future, right, we had a pandemic that really increased the adoption of no code, low code technologies. But if we think to the future and we think about other disruptors or other trends that are going to impact tech and application strategy over the next 12 to 24 months, what do you guys think are those trends? What do you think is going to impact the tech and application strategy in the near and long term?
I sort of see it's really automation is very, very key in a lot of industries at the moment. Whether they're sort of more office-based or factory-based organizations, automation is key. As is, I suppose, improving sort of the front office systems, combining those with robotic automation and CRM. So that's a big area of focus for us.
Yeah, automation, hyper automation. I think we heard about in the last session, right? So I love that term, hyper automation. Tolga, what do you see as the up and coming trends here?
I think we entered a different decade recently because of the effects of the COVID. We cannot understand it in an open way, but I think there are different possibilities coming to a digital physical world in the coming years for different needs, different customer types, different approaches of doing business. And I think we will need some tools to adapt ourselves to this new digital physical world. And we should maybe there will be different businesses that we have never thought about, and we should be adapting ourselves to these new segments that we will be facing. But to compete in this new era, I believe automation is important, and the use of AI and AI-related use cases is also very important because it highly depends on data. And if you can use data and automate data using the AI tools, it will be very important for organizations to predict decisions, I believe. And with no-code approach, automation approach, that helps to automate these AI-driven decisions. It will be easier to pass through a digital physical world that we will be facing in the coming years, I think.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. That's great insight. So, and as we think about those trends, we think about, we've addressed challenges, we've addressed trends, we, have taken a look at how no code can to help eliminate those. And again, this is a world you guys live in. What is the best, approach to somebody that may be considering, no code? Where do they get started? Where does this get interjected into their strategy? What do you think is the best approach to start leveraging no code technology?
I suppose it's research, it's education, it's about giving everybody in your company the opportunity to learn about no code and what it really means for the business and for their own positions, and how they can contribute, really. So it's something that should be embraced with a lot of keenness, I think. So it's of interest. It's breaking down some of the silos. It's helping modern businesses actually have different constituents working within them, putting more people in the business, really, rather than in a business function just supporting the business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I also agree about empowering the people to understand what is no-code, low-code, and how they can get advantage through this no-code, low-code systems. And it will also make a shift in their way of doing business to present how they think and how they create ideas and turn them into action, I think. And to do this, you should be selecting the right platform that will enable your employees to gain more advantage through the platforms. And in some cases, in our region, companies are starting with small projects that helps them to understand how their organization is reflecting these changes, and how they are trying to understand their own way of adopting to the no-code and low-code adoption. And also, if you select the platform that suits your needs, then you should be aligning the departments and the organization around this, I believe, because getting the results and making them understand how they achieve it, and making the others to learn from the initial doers is also important inside an organization in terms of strategy, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, great insight, guys. Couldn't agree more with those strategies. I think hopefully the audience is able to leverage some of that knowledge. I'm getting the wrap-up sign, guys. So I wish we had more time. This is a fascinating conversation. But again, really appreciate your expertise and your thought leadership in this arena. And again, I'm sure the audience is able to take away some strategy on how to eliminate those barriers. So Chris, Tolga, wonderful conversation, and let's do this again, because I love these types of conversations.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, gentlemen.
Bye then.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. And I believe that brings us to our wrap up today, guys. So wonderful. So just wanted to remind everybody that we have more great sessions coming up tomorrow. So we're going to be focusing on industry workflow automation for manufacturing and distribution. We have some key sessions. Again, thought leadership sessions about how no-code and AI and machine learning will transform manufacturing. We're going to give some real-life no-code experience, both from disruption-driven and then fueling no-code to gain a competitive advantage, right? So both two important topics. And we'll have another digital circle to talk about how we can improve quotation management processes with the help of no-code. So just as a quick reminder as well, we heard this in Alex and Mike's presentation, but we want to ensure that we're inviting everybody to our new product release, which we're calling our Freedom release. So we'll be giving our product update for CREATIO version 8, and that is coming up on the 8th. So no coincidence there, version 8 on the 8th. So we encourage you to join us for this phenomenal product launch that's up and coming. And I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us. And please tune in tomorrow as we have more exciting information to share with you. Everybody, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.